All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? In the video I'm bringing today, we are going to do a class tier list for the Elder Scrolls Online for large-scale PvP. Now, I've already done a solo PvP tier list. I've done a small-scale PvP tier list. This, which was 2 to 4 man groups. This is 5+ people, so 5 to 12 people, or you guilds that are running 12-man groups, but you're all in group chat together and you're actually rolling 30 to 40 deep. These are my tier lists for that sort of thing. As is always the case, guys, this is just my opinion, and we know this, my opinion is fact. This is not up for debate. This is a dictatorship for the tier list. You guys don't get an opinion. No, in all seriousness, guys, this is just my opinion. This is what I would prefer. Like if I was running a 5, 6, 7-man group, what would I want to run the most in here? And so when they're close, I'm going to rank them based off of versatility. So if a class can do more, I'm going to rank them higher than a class that can only do like one thing. So that's why I'm going to have these tiers the way that I have them. But yeah, let's dive into all the classes. Let's dive into where I would rank them and get this party started. So number one clear-cut S tier is the Radiating Regen class. Now I'm not seeing an avatar in here for Radiating Regen. I know it's a class because literally everybody in PvP runs it. No. Literally slap on a resto staff, run Radiating Regen. Yeah, everybody does it for a reason. It's strong. It's not actually a class, so let's start with the real classes. Magicka Necromancer, in my opinion, the best large-scale class in the game. Fantastic. Necromancers have the best defensive kit in the game. They have a lot of healing, a lot of survivability, which makes them tanky, allows them to stand their ground. Magicka Necromancer's one weakness, in my opinion, is their single target burst kit isn't very good, but their AoE burst kit is fantastic because we have a couple, or all 3 ultimates are very useful. You have the Goliath, Pummeling Goliath, that gives you the vulnerability, 10% more damage. It does a lot of AoE damage on top of it. Allows you to burst down large groups of players because you drop that, people ult on top of it. They do more damage with their burst, making them very valuable. On top of that, Magicka Necromancers also have a synergy that they can, in their class kit, that they can activate and drop themselves, making them great synergy builds for group PvP. Synergies operate outside of the global cooldown system, meaning that you can snap off quite a few pretty quickly, and it's a lot of burst. And so typically you want a Magicka Necromancer. If you're fighting a large group of people, you will, or if a group is, you will often see a synergy Magicka Necromancer in the group because they can nuke people with the synergies that other classes can provide, as well as their own with the vulnerability. On top of all of that, they have the Reset the Fight class, or the Reset the Fight ultimate with the Clown Form ultimate. Everybody knows what Clown Form is. You gain a bunch of health, you basically can reset the fight, do a bunch of heavy attacks, get your resources back. It's just another way to boost survivability. And then the other ultimate works really well for healers. If somebody does die, you can resurrect them with the Resurrection ult. On top of all this great kit that Magicka Necromancers have, they also make great healers. They have a really nice healing toolkit. Resurrection ult is very unique. It's nice in that regard. Magicka Necromancer, in my opinion, is clear-cut S tier. Also S tier, Magicka Warden. Magicka Warden's really good. Really good. Not as much damage as Magicka Necromancer, but they provide a bunch of utility also. They have a really cheap healing ultimate with trees. Northern Storm gives everybody in your group or in the area 10% damage mitigation. You get major protection while it's up. It's really nice. A lot of AoE damage with Northern Storm, Deep Fissure, and Shock Clench. Those sorts of things. A lot of AoE damage. So once again, the class isn't super great on its own in single target capabilities, but the AoE capabilities that it has, AoE minor vulnerability, all these sorts of things kind of add up, and it puts Magicka Warden also at the top. Also, Magicka Wardens make great healers. They are great healers. Lots of ulti-gen with major heroism. Lots of heals in their class kit, make them very versatile in this department. These are the 2 classes that I like to run with the most if I'm running in a large group. Now, that's not the only classes that we have in the S tier. Of course, we're going to put Stamina Necromancer up here. I put it a little bit lower than the other 2. It's still S tier, but if I had to choose, like gun to my head, which we're not doing here, but I would take Stamina Necromancer a little bit before the other 2 because they can't provide off healing in the way that those classes can, but they're still very valuable. They burst harder, or they can burst very hard with their Blast Bones DB or Vulnerability Ult or whatever. I still think they belong in S tier. Same thing with Stamina Warden. AoE kit. I mean, guys, pay to win classes are at the top, okay? You got to buy them. They're good. So they all go up here. Now the rest of us, where do we go? Magicka Nightblade. We have returned Magicka Nightblades. I have had Magicka Nightblade at the bottom in solo and small scale because I don't think they're very good. They're in the A tier for one reason and one reason alone. That's bombers. Bombers, you can't bomb on any other class the way you can bomb on a Magicka Nightblade. Some classes can get close, like they relatively close, but you can't nuke as many people the way a Magicka Nightblade bomber can. And so they're so good at that one thing, they don't need to be good at anything else. In large scale PvP, if you're running a 5 or 6 man group and you run across 20 plus people and you choke them into a funnel, a bomber can literally take out everybody. We've all seen fat bombs. We know what I'm talking about. They can't heal. They don't really have anything else. Bombing's their kit. But yeah, they're really, really good at it. So that's why they're here. Other S tier or A tier classes. Magicka Templar. I had Magicka Templar a little bit lower in solo PvP, but in group PvP, Magicka Templar is still good. I don't think it bursts as hard as Magicka Warden. I don't think it bursts as hard as the classes above it. It does have some utility as a healer, but those other classes have utilities as healers also, and they hit harder. And so that's why this one's lower. A lot of versatility. Their damage isn't as good, yeah, as the other classes, but I still think it's probably the best class for a beginner to start up. Like when people ask me what classes they should play, I typically say Magicka Templar, and that's because Breath of Life and Extended Ritual provides so much support for a group just on its own that you can tell somebody brand new, like, hey, hold block, hit Breath of Life. You're going to help yourself. You're going to help others. It keeps you alive long enough to figure out the game, and as you're figuring out the game, you're still providing support for your group. Yeah, it's not the best class anymore, but it's not bad. I would put it in the A tier. So that's where I have it so far. Now, other A tier classes that I'm going to put here, we are going to put Magsork in the A tier. And now I know this looks funny because in small group PvP, I had them lower. The reason I have in the A tier is Magsork healer is actually very powerful. You have a lot of support as a Magsork healer, being able to encase people, being able to negate them, being able to streak through them, having access to all the different forms of sustain, like Torque of Total Constancy with Dark Deal. Like a damage dealing Magsork, I don't think is super great right now in group play. It's not bad, like you can definitely make them work, but the support on a Magsork is actually, I think it's actually kind of slept on. You can be pretty tanky with Ball of Lightning. But yeah, the sustain with Torque and then the ability to provide heals, like the burst heals are good. Yeah, the support I'd put a little bit higher. Negate's just so valuable for fighting large groups. So if you wanted to say it's B tier, I wouldn't debate that, but I put them a little bit higher in that regard because yeah, it's my favorite class to play support on right now. Do we put this one here or not? We're gonna put this one a little bit lower. We're gonna put Stamsork in the B tier. Now it's not bad. The AoE kit, Spin to Win, Dawnbreaker, or Negate. It could go a little bit higher because of Negate. They don't have off healing though, so I wouldn't. I feel like Magsork in a group department provides just a little bit more than Stamsork because they can also off heal just a little bit. Not a ton, but just a little bit, and that little bit matters. And so we're just gonna separate them here, but yeah, if you want to say these two are in the same tier, I'm not going to argue a whole bunch, but in group play, they don't have a ton. I mean, they have Hurricane, but it's mostly Streak and Negate. So that's why that's why I'm putting them here. That Negate is valuable, Streak is valuable. Yeah, but typically they're not really running in case. Yeah, I just put them a little bit lower because they're not really great in the support department. Also in the B tier. Oh, actually, wait, I'm sorry. I missed a class. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to go back to the A tier. Magicka. Magicka is really, really good in a group. It's really good. They don't make great healers. They don't. Magicka healers are rough, but they're tanky. They have access to a few abilities like Deep Breath, Inhale, that allows them to heal quite a bit, severely outnumbered. They're also a lot of block casting on a Magicka, which allows you to survive and keep that healing going. But The main things are Talons and Standard. Talons and Standard really carry this class in group play because they have synergies attached to them. And so if you're going to be running with a Magicka Necromancer, a really nice synergy with a Magicka Necromancer in a group is a Mag DK, because they can literally lock everybody in Talons and then they can drop their Standard, and then the Necromancer can activate those synergies on top of his smash, and you can kill a lot of people with that combination. And so all these different synergies have cooldowns, but it just allows Magicka Necromancer to have a little bit more burst. That's why this class is higher, because they have those two different synergies that they can activate. Shifting Standard is so powerful when you're in a tower trying to take out a large group, because it's just that dot, the shackle synergy. Everybody just kind of gets locked in place, and then they take damage from other ults. It's really, really tough to deal with. So yeah, A tier in my opinion for Mag DK. They provide a little bit of support, a little bit of cauterize, not a ton, but what they have, because synergy is so powerful, they go this high. If synergy wasn't as strong, there would be some adjustments, but we're not going to go down that hypothetical route. But yeah, this class, in the same way Magicka Nightblade is really good because of a bomber, you're probably running with a synergy build. Mag DK is up there too. B tier, Stam DK, Leap. That's it. Leap and Standard. You can drop Standards as a Stam DK. I've done it. It's really nice for outnumbered group play. You drop that synergy. Synergy is nice, and so it kind of gets carried here. But yeah, I'll front bar Leap, I'll back bar Standard when we're fighting severely outnumbered. So if I'm running with my buddy that has, you know, vulnerability ult, I Leap on top of the pile. Hardest hitting ultimate in the game, stacked with 10% more damage. Just burst damage, 100 to 0 people a little bit more quickly. It's valuable for that reason, but they don't provide any support. They don't really have anything else useful for a group. You can't provide off healing. You're not going to be running Talons. You don't really have any other forms of support as a Stam DK, so they go quite a bit lower. They're good as damage dealers. They're not great as damage dealers. They have a couple of things. They could definitely use quite a few more things in group play. So once we start getting in the B tier, I think this is where classes could see some stuff. Utility things. They don't need buffs across the board, but they could see some other skills for group play that bring them up. C tier, in group play, Stamina Templar. Now, I think there's a difference between Stamina Templar and Stam DK. Now, you can run Purify on Templar, and you can drop Nova. And Nova has a nice synergy. It's a little bit more expensive than Standard, but it has a nice synergy. You can drop Purify. Purifies are valuable. You get a little hot on the ground. Those are nice. But if I'm going for more of a support style build that can drop those things, I'd rather just run a Magicka Templar. And so I would personally rather run with a Stam DK in a 5-man group than I would with a Templar, because they have Leap and Standard. So they either have the burst or they have the shifting Standard that can move around and readjust. The Nova can't readjust. And although Dawnbreaker is nice, Dawnbreaker isn't Leap. Dawnbreaker doesn't hit the way Leap does. It's not as bursty as Leap can be. And so for that reason, I put it a little bit lower. Yes, biting jabs do hit hard. And yeah, they are AoE. However, there's so many forms of AoE mitigation. Stamina Templar, in my opinion, could use a lot of love in this department and provide a little bit more support. Now, I'm not saying it's bad, guys. I have it as a C. I would just personally rather have a Stam Sork and a Stam DK over a Stamplar in a 5 to 12-man group. That's just my personal opinion. If you think that it belongs in the B tier, you could put it there. I'm not gonna argue with you. But yeah, that's just my opinion. And then finally in the D tier, Stamina Nightblade. I don't want to play with Stamina Nightblade in a 5-man group. I don't. I'm sorry, guys. As a guy that has a 5-star Stamina Nightblade, I don't like bringing my Stamina Nightblade into group play because it just doesn't provide enough. The only thing that you really can do well as a Stamina Nightblade in a 5-6-man, like a smaller big group, if that makes sense. So instead of running 12 people, you're running 5-6 people, is when there's a sniper, you can cloak out and go nuke the sniper. That's basically what you can do as a Stamina Nightblade. You don't have any forms of support heals. You don't want to, like the one ultimate that they had that was for support healing, the other form is Soul Tether, has a cast time on it, so you're not really going to use it because you can get bashed out of it. It sucks. The minute you cloak away, or you try to cloak away, you basically put a target on everybody else's head, so you don't have a ton of AoE damage. Literally every other class can AoE burst better than a Stamina Nightblade, and that's fine. Stamina Nightblade isn't a bad, it's not bad, like it's still solid solo. It's decent in duo and trio. It can use a lot of love in the group play department. Now, that's just how I have it. I just don't like it for that reason. AoE is more valuable. It doesn't really have any AoE. So these are my opinions. Now, when I talk about these classes, guys, and I will do a wrapping up video in the future like I did last year and talk about all these different things. Just because a class is strong in one department doesn't mean they can't be strong in other departments. It's the utility and flexibility of different skills. So as an example, Stamina Necromancer has AoE and single target capabilities. There's nothing wrong with having AoE and single target capabilities. Like, yeah, well, I think we can agree that there's some things in their kit that can be dropped back a little bit, namely the 10% damage to mitigation, namely Mortal Coil, those sorts of things. But having the ability to be able to slot heals or purges or have an entire skill line for healing that's actually effective, having 3 usable ultimates, these are all good things. These are all good things that a class can have. You can't fit every single skill on it. It's just nice having that versatility. That's why I think these classes are higher than a class like a Nightblade. Like, look at Nightblade. One morph of Tether is good and it's Tether. It's not the other one. In-cap single target, which is fine. But then the other PvE morph of the rune on the ground, like, you're just not going to use that in PvP because it's too small. It doesn't provide a group buff in the same way that the other classes do. They don't have an entire kit. Like when you look at the Warden and Necromancer healing line, they're just fleshed out so much more than what Nightblade has. As an example, when we talk about the disparities of these classes. And so just because they're good at single target or just because they're good at AoE doesn't mean that you can't add other stuff to the kit to allow them to be flexible. We all have our favorite classes, guys. We all have our classes that we like the most, and it's nice when the classes are versatile. It doesn't mean that they have to be overpowered. It just means that, hey, you know, all of a sudden I'm tired of playing a spin to win Stamden. I want to be able to run something else more single target. What can I do? Okay, well, we're gonna buff birds and make birds not as annoying, so now you can play a more unique Stamina Warden with birds, and it's, see what I'm talking about here? Like, it's just different. It doesn't mean it's more OP, it's just laterally stronger. And so yeah, a lot of these classes, when you look at these, when you see the big jumps like Nightblade, huge differences in solo, Magicka and Stamina, huge differences from solo to group play, in my opinion. And so yeah, some of them could use some lateral love. I like that. I like that. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments or opinions, please provide in the section below. I will do my best to answer them. As is always the case, guys. Have a nice day.